Hi, this is Angie with Future Life Today, and we're back again with Lori's to talk about a strange sound that came through my phone when I was doing a clearing with a client. And we're just going to play it for you. And then if anybody has any ideas or would like to make a comment, please make a comment. The client gave me permission to share this. And it was an interesting point when the sound came on was when I was talking about clearing discarnates. And discarnates are souls that are out of body who are lingering around here. They can be just stuck here. They can be lingering around causing us problems. So it was interesting when the sound came in. Lorice, you want to say hello before we get started?
Yeah, hi, greetings everybody.
And I'm going to share my screen because I'm just looking for it. I'm looking for the recording on my screen here. Here we go. And we'll listen to it directly from my computer. So the Lorice pointed out, so the sound is better. All right, and it's just about 30 seconds or so. It's not a very long recording.
So I feel, I feel like very clear up top, and I feel like something's like literally, literally holding me back. Like I don't feel it in my back, but I feel like I'm like being pulled back.
Okay, all right. Let's see what's holding you. Let's see what's holding you back from moving forward. Let's see what percent of it is you, 20%. What percent of it is something else? Is the rest of it? Yeah. See what's holding you back. There's some blocks and interferences. Discarnates in possession, discordant thought forms. Self-punishment. What was that sound?
I don't know what that was.
You know what's really weird is that came up when I started talking about discarnates.
Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that was.
And that's really okay. I just paused it, and I can play it again. Maurice, do you think we should play it again?
Yeah, not the whole thing. Can you just back it up a little bit and play the sound?
Yeah,
I don't know how much to.
I'll try to do that. So I'm not sure exactly.
No, I understand because those different numbers.
This is kind of weird backing it up. Let's see if this is where it is. Let's see what's holding you. Let's see what's holding you back from moving forward. This is as close as I can get.
Okay.
What percent of it is you, 20%. What percent of it is something else? Is the rest of it? Yeah. See what's holding you back. There's some blocks and interferences. Discarnates in possession, discordant thought forms. Self-punishment. What was that sound?
You can stop.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and share.
Now that is, we don't know what, but it's definitely, it came in from an unknown source. It wasn't like, somebody's device. They've ruled all that out, that it wasn't, like somebody else's device or one of theirs, or, we don't know where it came from. There's several different things that something like that could be. There's a thing out there called EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, and there's also a similar branch of study that talks about communication through devices like radios, and I guess they're using computers now. And it seems to be something like that. We don't know where the there are beings on the other side of the veil who use these things as modes of communication to try to get messages through to people. But since they were discussing in Discarnates at the time, we don't think it was that. Now, what I'm reminded of, and I just thought about that a minute ago when we were listening to this again. I remember a long time ago when Art Bell was host of Coast to Coast AM, that he used to have on these people. I can't remember. They were called the Ghost Investigators Society, and they used to go out and record stuff in different places where there would be a lot of, there potentially would be a lot of discarnate spirits around. And they would record, and a lot of times you couldn't hear it as they were recording, but they just leave the recording on, and then they'd have to go back and go through it. And a lot of times there'd be voices. And this is the kind of thing that this reminds me of. They were out of Utah, and their names, Barbara was the older lady, and then Brendan. It was like two couples and one other person that did this. And they could still be operating for all I know, but I don't hear about them anymore. But this is what I thought of when I heard this. I thought, because these beings that were speaking were mostly discarnates, or all discarnates, they think. And most of the time they were trapped. They were not malevolent. They were, I think they thought they were talking to the people that were in the space. They didn't know they couldn't be heard until you got a device out and started, because they would answer questions, and you wouldn't hear anything. And then, the people that were doing it wouldn't hear anything. And then when they would come and they take their recordings home, somebody's knocking on my door. I don't think I better answer that. Anyway, they would,
so they take their recording home and then they would listen.
Yeah, and they have to, I don't know how, I'm not patient enough to do that, but they would go all through the recording and they would hear their voices. And I guess they knew where, I say, oh yeah, that was where I asked blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of times their question would be on the recording too. And then they would answer it. So I'm thinking to myself that it may be something like that, where they just saw an opportunity to get in on the game, and they did. We don't know who they were, where, who they are, where they were hanging out, anything like that. But I suspect that it was probably something like that.
Yeah, and my client and I were on the phone. A lot of times I'm on Zoom with the client, but sometimes I'm on the phone. And I asked her, I've known her for a couple of years. I've done, clearings for her and done hypnosis for her. And I thought maybe she was moving some stuff around in her place, or, just while I'm in the moment doing the clearing with her, I'm not really thinking about it. And then right after the noise, I thought it sounded different than someone just moving their purse around or something.
Oh yeah. I can hear that it's trying to say words, like the shape of the word. Like I don't really hear the vowel, the consonants so well, but I hear like the vowel sounds, the shapes of the word. And I'm trying to figure out what by the shape of the word, what the word might be.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some way to listen to it and figure out what's being said. I've seen something before as well online where someone was listening to recordings like this and figuring out what was said. I've got a lot of weird stuff like this. Like my Ring camera came on right before it started talking. So I'll go back and see if some orbs or something are floating around. And my Ring
that's possible, because a lot of times
over here it like faces where I'm at. So
yeah, because a lot of times spirits present themselves as orbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll see a lot of orbs in here occasionally. My dog will see them, and I've just had weird things like this, but I haven't had a sound come through on the phone. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
It really is. I found it fascinating, and I was trying to figure out what, and when you do that, you tend, at least I do, and I think sometimes other people do too, you tend to try to make it into like a comprehensible phrase or sentence. And sometimes it doesn't fit, like the words I came up with didn't really make any sense. And I thought, well, I don't know, but I'm not saying, I think maybe these beings hadn't practiced a lot. And,
I don't
they
know
did
what.
get,
Go ahead.
they did get something through, but I mean, I don't think they were good at it or anything.
Yeah, and I wonder what beings would say as they're being cleared away, because if they're discarnates being cleared away, and the discarnate, I think discarnates and discordant thought forms, discordant thought forms are a larger form of negative energies together. So maybe they were saying, we don't want to go, or
Well, it sounded like they
glad
were
to
saying
go,
something
or
like, yeah, it's like something like, what are you doing, or why are you doing this? So that would make sense, that they were like, why are you moving us out? Something like that.
that just gave me chills when you said that. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good sign.
Yeah, so maybe they don't want to go, because I mean the ones who are stuck here and they're not even trying to cause problems, some of them are afraid to move on. I'm just going off what I had read with Robert Detzler, who I do the SRT energy clearing that he created, and he said some of them don't want to move on because they're afraid of what's going to happen after I move on.
I see that all the time. We do rescue, spirit rescue, and we see that all the time. They're just afraid because they think, they're gonna, like, if they do go across, they're gonna go to hell or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty interesting. We'll see if anybody out there knows a way to decipher, what they're being said, what they're saying. Do you want to cover anything else today, or do you want to close out today?
Yeah, why don't we just close out, because, and one topic at a time, or
Yeah.
But this was a really interesting one. I love to hear people's comments.
Yeah, it'd be great. Okay. All right. Well, thanks. And thanks for tuning in today. Again, this is Angie and Larice with Future Life Today. Thank you. Bye.